Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Wellness with Delaney podcast. I am so excited today because I have a really awesome guest for you. She is a social media sensation, the fifth generation Frownies woman. This is Helen Morrison. Helen, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Okay, I'm so excited as well. If you guys don't know, Helen is the face of Frownies. They are the original wrinkle patch. I talk about them all the time. They have absolutely changed my life as well as the lives of so many women. I mean, it has just become an internet sensation. It's really blown up. So that kind of leads into my first question for you today, Helen. Can you tell us a little bit about the background? I know Frownies is a family business. I would love to share your story with our audience.
Yeah, totally. So my great great grandmother actually invented Frownies in 1889. They were born out of a need, essentially. So her daughter, my great grandmother, was a concert pianist and a model. And when you're playing the piano or doing something where you're like in deep concentration, you furrow your brow. And so she started to develop the lines in between her brows. We call them 11 lines, or some people say they have a number one. So in order to figure out what to do to smooth that, she came up with the concept of Frownies. Originally, they were actually called wrinkle eradicators, and she started using them for herself and friends. People started asking what she was doing, um, you know, and so she started making them for friends. And then as they traveled, so she played the piano at like the White House and in different Hollywood circles and things. So as they traveled, they started sharing about Frownies. Also, around the same time, my great great grandfather passed away, and he was a part of a barber supply company. And so I guess the story goes that my great great grandmother purchased like the rest of the rights to the company and then began manufacturing Frownies under that whole business name. So Brownies was born, and it was really always called, like, for the first 100 years, like Hollywood's beauty secret. It was like the Botox before the Botox. So Botox was legalized for cosmetic use or approved for cosmetic use in 2000. So prior to that, we didn't have all these injectables and things. And there are actually a lot of Hollywood actresses and stars who have used Frownies along the years. Frownies have been featured in a lot of old Hollywood films. And so that was kind of where they got their start. Before 2000, primarily Frownies were sold in markets in California and New York, right? Like in the Hollywood circles where people knew about it. We never did a lot of marketing. It was very much word of mouth. And in 2000, Renee Rousseau, she was on the the cover of Good Housekeeping magazine. She was turning like 40 years old, and it was like Renee Rousseau, fabulous over 40, all of her beauty secrets. And we didn't know this at the time, but she was using Frownies. And there was like a 3-page spread all about Frownies, telling our story, had our website, our phone number, and all of a sudden the phone started ringing off the hook. And at this time, my grandmother was still alive. She was running the business. She started getting all these phone calls, and my parents were actually in Texas at my graduation, like out of town. And my grandmother called, like, the phone is ringing like off the hook all day. I don't know what's going on. And so they said, well, the next person who calls, like, ask them where they heard about it. So she starts doing that, and everyone's saying Good Housekeeping magazine. So that created this big boom at that time. And my mother got involved at that time, and she expanded the product line, created a whole clean skincare line, which now we all know about clean beauty and clean skincare. And there are a lot of brands that have clean skincare lines. But at that time, there really weren't many. And so she hadn't been able to find products that she loved to kind of go along with the Frownies. So she created that whole line, and we kind of chugging along for, 2 decades. And things were going well, but, still just like a small family business, and not a lot of people really knew about it. No marketing really was done, other than the fact that because Botox was used as a cosmetic and there was kind of a buzz, we did get a couple of magazines that started featuring some articles comparing Frownies to Botox. And everybody's like, kind of, Botox became a little bit more all the rage, and people were interested in that. Until 2020, I had my own little side hustle, I guess you could say. And I did a lot of social media personally for my little side business. I have a background in nutrition and fitness. So I've been teaching yoga for almost 16 years, and I did like some nutrition and fitness coaching online. And so I knew the ins and outs of social media, and I was really comfortable like making videos and content and things like that. And so kind of took a look at the business. I'm one of 5. My siblings and I are the 5 owners. So as an owner of this small little business, I started looking at the business social media and I was like, what are we doing? This is like, we've got to do more. Like, this is the world of social media. Like, why are we not on social media? So I came on board to take over our social media in 2020. And it was the end of 2020, right around the time when Instagram Reels became a thing. Obviously, that was like 2020 was like the height of TikTok growth. And so I got on TikTok, got on Instagram, started making content, and pretty much from day one on TikTok, we went viral for like the entire year of 2021. We actually became like one of the top 5 search terms in beauty in 2021 on Google. And TikTok, like, it just created this giant like TikTok craze of all things face taping, wrinkle patches, and all of that. And really all brands of wrinkle patches and face tapes, and people put medical tape on their face, all these things started, they all grew within the tide that was created by Frownies. And so here we are today. There's been an evolution of our content and like how we're using social media, but ultimately the goal from the start for me was just to build a community and to connect with women. Like, women love to be on social. We're all on social looking at the next product that we love, like getting recommendations from each other, learning all the things. Like, I think my beauty routine and everything has totally, morphed over my couple years being on TikTok and Instagram and watching all the things and learning all the things. So yeah, we're just really like focused on just building a community, connecting with customers, and supporting women with alternatives to injectables and Botox and things like that. So personally, I've never had any injectables, any work done on my face, anything of any sort. And I feel really strongly just with my background in nutrition and fitness. And my mom's actually a naturopath. So grew up in a very like holistically minded family. I just can never and will never, and thanks to Frownies, wouldn't ever even need to consider doing any kind of injectables. So I am very passionate about sharing this alternative, especially with younger women. And that's really been a big thing as we grew on social media. Our audience majorly shifted from like the 50, 60 plus to really the younger women in their 20s, 30s, 40s. And I have a heart to share the message of Frownies with them because I know how easy it is when you're young to start with Frownies, and you would never even consider turning to Botox once you see how effective Frownies can be. And so here we are.
I love it. What an incredible story. And I love that your story is so steeped in history. I mean, it really has been going on for so long. And I think a lot of people don't realize how long Frownies has been a thing, which I find really, really fascinating. And I totally agree with you and totally resonate with you on not getting injectables, not wanting to get work done. I know that looking as good and as youthful as you do, especially with Frownies, people probably accuse you all the time of secretly getting work done. That's just something that
social media.
Yeah. But I guess at the end of the day, that is the ultimate compliment as well. You know your product's working when haters accuse you of using the other more mainstream, more toxic source.
Right.
But yeah, no, and I totally love what you said about not wanting to ever put any of those toxins in your body, having a naturopath in the family and your background in health and wellness. I think a lot of girls don't realize that Botox is actually a neurotoxin. The name Botox is cute, but botulinum toxin is actually a very powerful neurotoxin that causes paralysis, and there are so many side effects. So I love that you guys are preaching this positive message that allows women and young women, I started when I was in my young 20s, and I'm so glad I did, but it allows them to have another option where they don't feel like they have to choose between anti-aging and non-toxic living. You guys really do marry the two together. And I know you mentioned about all the celebrities and the magazines and features. And actually, while I was prepping for this podcast, I saw there was an article where Kris Jenner swore by Frownies and said her daughters use it. Do you think that your great-great-grandma ever expected that mainstream A-list celebrities would be using her product?
No, I mean, who starts a business and thinks in 130 years, my great great granddaughter is going to be on the internet, which didn't exist for one. And, all the things that have happened. It's funny because my grandmother, she passed away when my daughter was like, I think just turning 1 year old. My daughter's about to be 6 now, or she's 6, she's about to be 7. And I was not involved in the business like this at that time yet. It was only 2018 and she passed away. And I often think of her because my entire life growing up, she's always like, oh, one day you're going to run the business. And I was like, no, I'm not. I just didn't see myself in like the business world. But again, like social media and the internet, which I love, was not a part of that world at that time. But I think of her regularly, and just she loved her family. She was such like a just so committed to her family through and through. And if she could see, it makes me want to cry. If she could see today what's happened and what we're doing, like I know she would just be so happy and so overjoyed. And she was raised by her grandmother, who is the one who founded Frownies. So it's definitely a family legacy, to be sure. And it's honestly, my mind is blown on where we are today compared to what I knew of this company when I was a little girl. My first job at 13 was coming in and folding Frownies and putting them in the boxes and putting the stickers on the boxes. And so it's really such a incredible blessing and so humbling to be a part of where we are today.
Wow, that's amazing. And honestly, what an inspiration to other girls and women who want to start something as well or want to grow something.
Yes.
I think your story is definitely an inspiration, seeing how your family has really cultivated a phenomenal business that's really exploded through the use of social media and just through the test of time. So that's beautiful and so inspirational.
Yeah.
And kind of just to give our audience, I guess, an idea, because some people may know about Frownies, some may not. How do Frownies work?
Yeah, so Frownies are a paper patch that has a vegetable, water activated vegetable starch adhesive on one side. And essentially, you're creating like paper mache for your face. You're creating a splint or a cast for your facial muscles. If you know anything about Botox, you know the reason that Botox is effective at like smoothing wrinkles and expression lines is because the reason you have those wrinkles and expression lines on your forehead in between your eyebrows is because of muscle contraction. Muscle tension, muscle contraction, the more you furrow your brows, the more the muscles like kind of form in that shape and they kind of stay in that shape. And then as we get older and we lose collagen in the skin doesn't bounce back the same way that it always did. But even children, you know, my kids can furrow their brow and they can make deeper 11 lines than me because they're doing it all the time. And it's just that they don't have those static lines left over. Well, as we get older, that muscle shape is there and the skin settles into the muscle and the muscles and the skin are attached. So with Botox, you paralyze that muscle and it relaxes. And so once you've done that, the lines go away because you're not creating that impression in the skin anymore. Well, similarly with Frownies, we say Frownies are not skincare. They're ultimately addressing your facial muscles. They're working to hold the muscle in a smooth and relaxed position so that it lifts the lines. So once you retrain your facial muscles not to hold in that tight, tense position anymore, it takes time, right? It's not a quick fix like Botox, but over time you can change the muscles in the body. We know that. We do that with fitness all the time. And so Frownies are helping to relax those muscles and to retrain even your facial muscle habits, your facial expression habits. You don't need to furrow your brow to live your life. In fact, mental health wise, you will have less stress physiologically when you are not clenching and holding that stress in your face. And so while people often think of Frownies even as like an anti-aging type of thing, it really has so much more to do with facial tension than it does with age, which is why women who are 20, 22, whatever, can use Frownies and get great results. They're not old, and it's not a loss of collagen that's creating their lines. It's ultimately facial tension. So Frownies just splint those muscles while you sleep, retrain your muscles, and then you play a part in it. You have to become aware. It's creating a mindfulness around what you're doing, where you're holding that stress and tension, and learning to just keep that more relaxed.
That is so cool. And I love that I never thought about it this way, but I love that you said Frownies isn't just really an anti-aging beauty tool, but it's really a wellness tool in so many other ways. And I totally resonate with that. I actually used to be a highly expressive person. I definitely have a lot of that in my family. And if I look at old videos as a content creator, old photos, I feel like my eyebrows are up to my hairline. And now people all the time think I have Botox. And I'm like, no, I just use Frownies. I've used them for a couple of years now. And there is that component. I feel a lot more demure now. Like I feel like I'm
Yeah.
relaxed and I'm not getting these tension headaches. I think that's another thing. I know for my husband, he was getting tension headaches because he has like RBF.
Yeah.
In the cutest, sexiest way possible, he has RBF. And he actually wore Frownies for 30 days in a row, and his headaches got so much better. And so I think there are so many components beyond beauty where Frownies really can support you in your wellness journey. And I love that so much.
Yeah, we don't advertise that Frownies help with tension headaches, but our customers certainly do. We have so many people who tell us that Frownies help with their tension headaches, but it makes sense, right? Like if you're furrowing your brow all day long, you are holding so much tension there, and that's what leads to those tension headaches. Where if you learn to relax that, it goes away, you know? And I think also there's an element with if you decide and you're committed to not using injectables or any kind of invasive treatments, we're all going to age, right? Like there's no stopping it. The years go by, and it is what it is. So there are wrinkles or there are some signs of age that Frownies are not going to change. They're not going to lift and tighten sagging skin. They're not going to add volume to your face, but they do help relax that tension. And when you do that, it does improve the quality of your life too, right? It's not just this anti-aging, purely beauty motivated factor. I always say I have smile lines because I smile, I have big cheeks, and Frownies are not going to make that go away. I'm not going to stop smiling. But there's something about even an older woman with smile lines and maybe little happy like crinkles around her eyes that looks joyful with age. Whereas those 11 lines and those furrowed lines, those people come to us really more so because they're like, I just don't want to look angry. It's not even about age. I just look mad all the time. And they don't want, that's not how they feel on the inside. And they want their face to show really the expression that they truly feel. And so there's just so much more to it. I'm not big on the term anti-aging. While I get it and we all want to look our best, but it's more just about, like looking happy, looking relaxed, refreshed at every age, and that doesn't mean you have to have 0 wrinkles on your face, but relaxing those kind of like angry, stressed out wrinkles. That's kind of the key and the thing that Frownies is most successful at doing.
Definitely, yeah. And I love what you said about it not being so much about anti-aging, but it's about supporting women to look joyful because that's so true. I want to look like I smiled a lot when I'm 75, but I don't want to look like I spent my younger years frowning and scowling. Yeah, especially for some people they just are expressive even if they're not angry people. I know I used to be that way. But I also just really want to capture, the idea of in this society there is kind of this obsession with like the fountain of youth, right? People are so scared of aging. If you look in older societies, ancient societies, or even other places around Europe, Africa, etc. in the world, aging is revered. Older people are respected and honored, and aging is not this scary thing. But it seems like in our society, Western society, but the US in particular, is so afraid of aging, is so afraid of showing those years. So as a company that does help women age gracefully and embrace beauty and wellness at all ages, how do you navigate kind of that line between being like embracing beautiful aging and honoring it while still wanting to look and feel your best?
Yeah. Well, I think the best way to explain it, and I make this comparison often, it's kind of like the body positivity movement. I think of the pro-aging movement in the same way. Body positivity doesn't mean that I should stop working out and I should just eat whatever I want whenever I want. In fact, that's quite the opposite of being body positive, right? If I really love my body and I'm going to take care of my body, that means I'm going to have movement and I'm going to do things that help me to stay healthy. And I'm going to eat foods that help me feel healthy. It's really like honoring your body, and it has nothing to do with achieving a specific body type, right? It's more about, I'm going to have these habits and these practices that are the best thing for my body. And yeah, you probably will end up looking the best for your body type that you can because you're taking care of yourself. I think similarly with aging and like a pro-aging kind of movement, that if you are pro-aging and you're against the anti-aging world and the idea that women have to look a certain way to be of any value, you can be against all of that, but that doesn't mean you stop taking care of yourself. And again, I think like, what does it say when you take care of something? Why do you take care of it? Because you love it, right? Like, I'm not going to let my car get all rusted and, fall apart. I'm not going to let the roof on my house get old and fall off. Like, I want to take care of the things that I care about. And I think that it has everything to do with the motivation behind what you're doing. If you approach taking care of yourself, your skincare, taking care of your body from a place of value and a place of like loving yourself because you're worth it and you're worth taking care of and preserving, then your outcomes not only will be better, but your mental well-being will be better and just your life will be better. But if you approach your skincare and your physical beauty from a place of like, man, I hate the way I look. I hate this about myself. I hate that I'm getting older. You're going to get a negative outcome. You're not going to end up achieving what you want to anyway. So it really is all about motivation. And I think the tricky part is that in culture, there are like in media, in Hollywood, the message of what a woman is supposed to look like and how, like what age she's supposed to be and all of that. It's loud and clear what they're putting out there for us. Right. But I think that we have to be careful not to allow the pendulum to be this forced swing to the opposite side where we do nothing to take care of ourselves in rebellion of that. Like, that's not going to help anybody. Right. So I think it's just like, as individuals, like checking your mindset of like, why am I doing this? Like, have I done the work inside to like love myself first? And if I've done that, and then I'm taking care of myself from that place of loving myself and wanting to live the fullest life and, preserve my skin for as long as I can, because this is all I get, then I think you're going to get what you are looking for. And if you don't love yourself and you're not happy with yourself, no matter what treatments you do, no matter how much filler and Botox and plastic surgery you get, you're never going to be happy. So it's really all like, what's your motivation? And it's easier to come to a place where you're content and you've done enough and you can accept a few wrinkles and fine lines and be okay with it. It doesn't bother you if you start with loving yourself. But if not, you'll never achieve the perfection that doesn't exist other than in filters.
Wow, I love that. And honestly, that is such a profound answer. And I think, it's so interesting because if you look at a little girl, when we're little, we all kind of have this desire to be beautiful, to wear the princess dress, the jewelry, whatever. And it doesn't come from a place of insecurity. Little girls just want to be beautiful and they want to, and it's because they truly see themselves as a beautiful princess, right? It is an act of love.
That's right. They adorn themselves because they're like, look at me, not because there's something wrong with themselves at all. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And somewhere along the way, we seem to lose that. And I don't know if it's puberty, social media, a combination of everything, but it seems around like those preteen, young teen years, something kind of stops connecting. And how powerful would it be as women if we can champion the next generation and teach them that beauty is not an act of like putting on makeup, washing your face, going to the gym, working out is not because you're not good enough already, but because you're so valuable that you deserve this extra love and care and attention. And I think that's such a message for young girls and for women today. I know so many women my age, older than me, pretty much this transcends generations that approach beauty at a place of self-loathing rather than a place of self-love. And I know that's something I've been working on, trying to really just be loving and do it out of appreciation and out of self-respect as well.
So. Yeah, it's so true. And it really just comes down to doing that internal work. It's like so much of social media, so much of what we see, it's just easy. There's more even to compare ourselves to these days, right? Because you have access to all of it. And I think that it's all about like kind of that gratitude practice and that like internal, like noticing what's going on the inside and what kind of mindsets and things are passed down from older generations. Because like even like my mother-in-law's generation, it's like, you need to be skinny, you need to be pretty, you need to, it's all like appearances. And I think some of the most self-loathing women I know are the older women in my life. Right. And I think I'm really excited to see, even though there is more pressure and there is more opportunity for comparison because of social media and all of that, I'm excited to see people, I feel like in our generation, trying to change that narrative and celebrate. I feel like there's a huge change just even in like physical bodies, knowing that like everybody can be beautiful. And there's not just that only. You used to see magazines or whatever, and all the models had the same body. And now it's much different. You see lots of different body types represented, and there's lots of brands doing different marketing campaigns where, you have the women who are fit of all shapes and sizes. And so I think it's the same representation of all the different ages and beautiful women of every age. And I personally will say, since being on social media, even though there are the trolls and haters, I have been so inspired by the women that are just ahead of me, like in their 50s, who are like so fun, so fashionable, so beautiful, and they're doing their thing. And so it makes me like, wow, like 50 doesn't look so bad, if that's what it's like. And I think that that's what I hope to do, is just to continue to be myself and let people watch me age and see how, like, you don't just go downhill or, like lose the ability or the beauty that you had. It's just a different phase of life,
Definitely. Yeah. And there are those components, as you age, your body changes. Your body's also telling the history of childbearing years, of, grief, of moments of joy, of all these memories. And especially as women, because of the way we hold ourselves and the things we go through, just fertility wise and giving birth, which I haven't been through yet, but just from watching other women around me, we do tell a story with our bodies, and we earn every stretch mark, every scar, every wrinkle. We earn those things. And so it's so cool that you are really cultivating a community on social media that's allowing women to be able to do things out of respect for themselves, but you really don't approach it from a state of, you need this to be beautiful. I've never once seen Frownies post anything that feels like negative or condemning towards women or pushing a certain narrative of a beauty standard. So that's something I love about your guys' page. Honestly, everyone listening needs to check them out, because they've created such a beautiful, just really positive community. I think the community is the best word to describe what you're doing on your page. But with that, with as much as you guys have exploded, haters and skeptics and trolls are going to happen. I know a lot of people who just don't even read the comments because it can be too hard on their mental health. But one thing I've seen you do a lot is take all the negative comments and use them to show how awesome you guys are. So how do you navigate getting, I'm sure whenever you do get negative comments, that can be hard mentally. How do you navigate that, keeping your mental health while still running a business and engaging with your audience?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that initially, when I first started getting haters, if anything, I was like, it was almost like funny, because they're, the accusations of the Botox and things. I was like, really? You think, like, I mean, I like my skin, but I didn't think I looked like I had Botox. Like, so I think initially it didn't bother me so much, just those comments. But I think it does start to wear you down when people double down, and it's just like, okay, enough already. And it's different when somebody says like, oh, you have Botox, but when they start to turn the corner to be like, you're such a liar, you're such a scammer, it's like, geez, okay, like enough already, and I think I do have a couple of girls now who help me answer the comments and stuff. So I'm not reading every comment, which is helpful, because yeah, like the first few, you can brush it off or laugh it off. And then it does get to be like, wow, man. One tactic or one thing that I've done over the years, like you said, is I even try to kind of like look at the hate comments and find some that are like nice and juicy to make a response reply to. Because I feel like, while there are a lot of people who it's funny, you get the haters and then I respond to the haters and like stick up for myself. And then I have like the fans who are like, why do you have to reply to them? Just ignore them. And I'm like, you're kind of like, well, I'm going to make these people unhappy if I do, and these people unhappy if I don't. And so, you have to just come to that place where you're like, I'm never going to make everybody happy, but I'm going to be myself and I'm going to do what feels true to me. And I have made a lot of like reply videos where I try to make it funny and just like respond and show them that, no, actually, like this is my real face. I don't have Botox, and I'll show you. And I think to the people who say like, why don't you just ignore the haters? Number one, I have always believed that you should stick up for yourself. I think women too much in the world are told to like, oh, just like, don't ruffle feathers, silence yourself, don't cause a fuss, it's not worth it. And I'm like, how are we ever going to get people to see that they need to stop treating us this way if we just always sit back? So to me, there's an element of like, these haters come in your comment section and they try to take your power by insulting you or saying something. And I think for me, just making a funny reply video back, this is me saying, no, like I'm taking my power back. You don't affect me, you know? And so I think there's that. And then I also just believe that when you can take the hate and you can like make it funny, fun, and you know, whatever, it's like you're helping kind of like shine a light on how ridiculous all of that looks. And actually, I don't get as many hate comments as I used to anymore. Like I was saying to my husband the other day, you know what? I feel like the trolls have finally decided to just kind of go away for the most part. And people know it's like, whether they've decided to believe me or not, they've decided to leave me alone. So that's kind of nice. But the other thing is you mentioned like we never resort to like negative marketing. I'm never going to tell people like, oh, if you feel terrible when you look in the mirror, you know, if your 11 lines make you feel old, like I am not about that. I don't like that at all. A lot of marketing will tell you to do that, but I am very much against that kind of marketing. And so we never do that. But that's a powerful marketing tool, like massaging the pain points, but I don't do that. But I think because I don't do that, I need to look at like, okay, what else can I do to market and spread the word? And the reality is when I make reply videos to haters, the engagement and the awareness of Frownies goes through the roof. If I'm just over here sharing testimonies and like positive stuff, a lot of times no one even sees those posts. So there is an element that when you're a brand and you're putting yourself out there on social, you have to do things to work with the algorithm, right? Like you gotta play the game or no one ever hears about you. And so it's like, you know, if I'm making a reply video to a hater, some people say like, oh, well, you're elevating those haters. Just, you know, do your thing, be positive. And I'm like, well, actually, I'm trying to put a positive spin on this. And there's no way people are going to hear about Frownies unless I like lean into a little controversy once in a while, you know? So that's the other thing is at the end of the day, it's like, I don't mind the haters because truly they only help us make more money. Like the haters spread the word about Frownies, you know, how can I be mad? I think if you're out there and you're listening and you're a hater, my best advice to you, if you want to like hurt me, would be to ignore me. Go away. Don't comment. Don't engage because then other people won't see my posts. But all the haters are actually accomplishing the opposite of what they're hoping to accomplish. They're actually spreading the word about your brand. And so if you view it through that perspective, it's kind of like, I don't care. All engagement is good engagement, you know? I don't have any viral videos that I should say none of my viral videos would have gone viral if not for a hater commenting and then their comment thread like 150 comments deep. People, you know, going off about it. And hey, that's when people hear about Frownies. So it's okay.
That's so true. Any comment is going to boost the algorithm. So it is kind of funny when people want to shut you down and they're ultimately just boosting your video. They're causing a fight in the comments. And then you can let your loyal ambassadors and customers fight the battle for you, which is so nice. Right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously there are going to be skeptics, but it is cool that you are able to kind of use those hateful comments and use them to address people's common skeptical ideas about Frownies, kind of change some misconceptions and shine light on them. So I feel like your response videos are also very educational in a sense.
And that is the goal too. It's always like, how can I utilize this for something good here? And you always can.
Yeah, you absolutely always can. You can use everything for good. You can use the haters for good. And kind of moving on, to the skeptics. I know I personally, even when I've shared Frownies on different platforms, people get so annoyed because I'm 26 and they're like, well, let me see someone who's 40 plus, 50 plus using them. And I try to explain that it actually is best. I mean, you can start using them at any age and see results, but the younger you start, the better it is because I'm not working on reducing wrinkles. I'm preventing them or the tension wrinkles, right, altogether. So can you explain a little bit why you recommend people starting at a younger age and what that might look like?
Yeah, I am a huge proponent of starting younger. First of all, prevention is so much easier. And at the end of the day, it's not about the money for me. Really, if somebody starts using Frownies when they're really young, I will make less money in the long run because you'll use them less and you'll need them less for the rest of your life. And the number one thing we hear from our older customers is, I wish I had heard about this sooner. The other thing is that facial tension, muscle expression it is not an age-related thing. I know a lot of girls in their 20s who do get Botox just for tension headaches. They don't have any wrinkles, but they get tension headaches. And so I think that starting early to develop good facial habits, good habits with the stress and tension that you're holding in your body is a great thing to do. And so if you learn early on not to just constantly furrow your brow, you're going to be better off in the long run. Like, and again, that's why I always say, like, this is just not about anti-aging, you know. There's so much more to it. It's just the same. Like, as a yoga instructor, we talk a lot, like at the end of class, like you're laying in your final like Shavasana, and it's like, okay, relax your body, relax your face, relax the muscles between your brows. Like, notice, look at how you're holding that tension. Let it go, you know? And so I think starting younger, it benefits you from every standpoint, whether it's just vanity or it's stress and tension. It's all the things. And the sooner you learn that habit, the better. Why wait, you know? And again, truthfully, if you're in your 20s and you learn to keep your brows relaxed, you could almost then stop using frownies for a long, long time. Like, I don't really need to wear frownies every night. And when it comes to like in between my brows, I hardly have to wear them at all. I just don't furrow my brow unless I'm doing it on purpose. And so it is just, frownies are a tool to help you learn how to relax your face. Now, I'm a huge proponent as well of like facial massage and gua sha and facial cupping and all of that stuff as well, because truthfully too, there's a lot more to the health of your skin than just wearing frownies. You know, you need a good skincare routine. You want to be working on the lymphatic drainage, and, you know, facial massage and all of that is super beneficial just to all of the facial structures, to your sinuses. It's so many things. So I really like to think about skincare and self-care from a holistic perspective. It's not just like use frownies and all your problems are solved, right? So younger women learning earlier on things that they can do to be empowered to take care of themselves and to own their skincare instead of be beholden to the cosmetic and aesthetics industry. Like, I'm all for it. And not to mention, I see young women in their 20s, even my college roommate was 18 and she had very deep expression lines. And why do you have to wait? Like this idea of like ageism, I feel strongly that there's ageism against women in their 20s as well from the older crowd, as much as the older crowd might be experiencing some like ageism and like, you know, age related like bias towards them. When I see people comment things like that to a 22-year-old taking care of her skin, I'm like, who are you to tell her, you know, just because she's 20 doesn't mean she can't care about this. And so I just feel like I'm pretty defensive towards like my younger crowd. So I'm like, like they're doing what you should have done. You know, your life would be easier. You'd be spending less money on these products if you knew about this sooner and you learned to keep your brows relaxed.
I love it. You're a total mama bear in the best way. I love it. And yeah, no, you're so right about the muscle tension. Even I think women don't even understand that we often can carry so much tension in our shoulders, our neck, our jaw, our forehead.
Yep.
And when you learn how to relax those muscles, like truly release the grip, it can create a whole body and mental relaxation that is really hard to achieve when we are constantly clenching and have that tightness in our muscles, because everything is connected. It's not like the muscles in my forehead are connected or disconnected from my brain, which is disconnected from the rest of my body. It really is one whole thing that is so connected and so intertwined. And I think sometimes we lose the idea that everything is working together. So when you can learn to release tension in one area, maybe that's your forehead, it really does help with the mental stress, the other stress, and learning to just be more aware of what's going on in your body and inside your brain. So kind of shifting gears, there are, like you mentioned, a lot of different patches and tapes and products on the market, especially since Frownies has gotten so huge. A lot of companies have come up or released their own version of some sort of facial relaxation device. So how is Frownies different from a lot of the different silicone patches or other products you're seeing on the market?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to be honest, every other facial patch or face tape, or even people using like medical tape and castor oil, things like that, they are targeting, and they'll tell you in their marketing, they're targeting the skin. Silicone patches, they say, we're skincare. Like they're trying to help build collagen in the skin, which is great. It's fine. Facial taping is a little bit more towards the muscular type of thing, but tapes and medical tape and silicone patches, they are all soft. So when you put them on and you go to furrow your brow, they don't prevent you from furrowing. They don't, I mean, they're a gentle reminder, but it's not nearly the same thing as frownies. So if you're somebody who's holding that tension, frownies are the only facial patches that dry hard, like a cast or a splint, splinting the facial muscles, which is more in line with the concept of Botox, right? Like the idea behind Botox and why it works. The other patches are not addressing that. And it's the same thing with, if you want to talk about retinol, or people have products that they call Botox in a bottle, serums and all these things. Those things do not do anything to the facial muscles. They do not help you like learn to relax your facial muscles. And that's really what makes frownies stand out as different. We are splinting the facial muscles. We are targeting the facial muscles. And the other thing is that with silicone patches, you also can't wear your skincare underneath. So frownies, you can use your skincare when you use frownies, which is, I think, a great benefit, because whatever skincare products work for you, whatever serums and things, and I love my skincare, you can use what you like with frownies to get both the skincare element addressed and the muscular element addressed. So yeah, it's really that splint that makes frownies different.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I've tried before finding frownies. I did try a few different ones out there, and frownies has been the only thing that's worked for me. I mean, the transformation has been absolutely dramatic. For those of you who have been with me since before I started using them to now, I love to share videos of just the difference that my face has made, and nothing has worked the way frownies has. So I can definitely attest to the fact that that splinting is amazing. I always say it's kind of like wearing a retainer. The first couple of nights I wore my retainer, and same first couple of nights I wore frownies, I was kind of uncomfortable. Like my face was fighting it,
This
you
is
know, like,
different.
yeah. And like the muscles, I'm used to making these clenching muscles, and it's fighting against that. And then after a few weeks, suddenly I prefer sleeping with frownies, because it's the same way you get used to wearing a retainer and it feels good and it kind of holds everything where you want it to go. I feel like frownies kind of does that same thing. And now I feel like they're actually extremely comfortable, and they don't keep you from sleeping. They don't make it harder. If anything, I feel like there also is a level where when I wear the ones around, I don't know if you've experienced this, around the smile lines and then the forehead, if I side sleep, I feel like I have less of an impact because I'm not like rubbing my face all over my pillow.
Definitely. And that's the thing too. Like sometimes people say like, oh, can I use these for sleeping lines or whatever? And you can absolutely kind of customize them to whatever it is you're looking for. Because yes, for me, there are times where actually, like I said, I don't furrow my brows at all, but just recently in the past year, on nights where I don't wear any frownies, I go to bed with no 11 lines. And I actually I've woken up with 11 lines. I don't know if it's just like the level of stress and things going on in my life, like in my sleep, like I'm furrowing or something. And I wake up and I'm like, what is that? Like I fell asleep and I had no lines, and now here they are. And so there's definitely that component to your sleep. And even as you get older and your skin is just like a little looser, you can tend to have more folds in your skin. So when you have the frownies on, it just kind of holds everything. So you're not getting that smashed face from your pillow. So
Yes, I love it so much. Okay, shifting gears again, because ultimately, I think something that I've learned from you today, and I know my audience will learn from you today, is you're not just the frownies girl, you are a wellness girl through and
yes.
through. And that's something I actually love. I always tell, with the brands I work with, anytime I'm consulting or doing marketing, I think it's so important for people, if they're selling a product that is wellness oriented, for them to be living the life in many areas, not just in the product that they're selling. So for you, being someone who's so into wellness and fitness and nutrition, what are some things outside of frownies that you do to optimize your wellness and take care of your body?
Yeah, that's a great question too. And I love that. I'm very passionate about movement. Obviously, as somebody who's been teaching yoga for so long and just in the fitness world. And, all growing up, I was an athlete, college athlete. I was a competitive swimmer. So I love movement. I am a big advocate for just really the mind, body, spirit benefits of movement. And just as a little plug, anybody out there, if you need some motivation to move, read the book, The Joy of Movement. I listened to that book on audio, like an audio book not too long ago, and it just makes my insides explode with like how incredibly powerful just movement in and of itself can be for us in our mental health and mental well-being. And then on top of that, like the skin benefits of exercising and like all the things. So I'm like a huge exercise geek, but not in the realm that I'm like in the gym for hours. I really don't exercise more than 30 to 45 minutes a day. I believe in like strength training, powerful, like intense workouts, but short durations. And really, as women get older, that's actually something that is really important too. So and that kind of leads me into my next thing. I think it's really important to think about what's going to be optimizing for your hormones, which is like getting good sleep, the right type of fitness, and the right duration, because you're not trying to have like your cortisol levels just constantly on high. I also am really huge on eating healthy, whole foods. I try to minimize packaged processed foods as much as possible. And I'm not about like the like dieting and calorie counting and all of that. I'm really just more about like what is the most nutrient dense thing, real foods, stuff like that. Like minimizing seed oils, which are in all processed packaged foods, it seems like, but just trying to eat simple, whole foods is really important to me. And I feel my best when I do that too, right? And then just outside of that, like I really feel like one of the most important things for my health and well-being is community and connection with people who are positive and grateful for life, and adding value to others and receiving that value back. I love connecting with people. I love encouraging people. I love just like having that supportive community, whether it's even just through small things of like a social community online, or my in-person like friends and connections and people that I am sharing life with. I feel like that you cannot have truly your healthiest, happiest life if you don't have people that you love and you share life with. So that's also really, really important to me.
That's awesome. And when you're doing all these things, giving back to your body, living in alignment, it does just change the way you glow. It changes the energy you radiate. And for those of you who are watching the visual version of this on YouTube, I know you can see it. Helen is absolutely glowing. And if you're not, I definitely encourage you to watch, because you can truly tell when somebody is living in alignment. And I really do feel like there is just a warmth and just an energy that radiates off of you that you can tell, you're passionate about what you do. You are fulfilling your purpose. And so many people spend so many years looking for that. So I know that it can be really hard, especially as women. Like you kind of touched on, our hormones are very different than men's. We are definitely conditioned to operate differently in the hustle and grind culture because we operate on a 28-day cycle versus a 24-hour cycle like men. So how do you find that balance of being a woman in business, a mom, a wife, a wellness girl, all the things? How do you find balance in hustle culture?
I don't know. It's a daily. I'm trying to figure that out daily.
Yeah.
I will say the hardest thing for me is definitely sleep. As a mom, especially, there's just catching up when you get behind on sleep is tough, and sleep is really important for balance of your hormones in your body. But yeah, how do you find the balance? I don't know if you ever do. It's just something you're always trying to be aware of. And I don't know if I found the balance. I think that it is hard. I think for me, one thing I'm fortunate with is I have a team of women. And so I think surrounding myself with other women, and then that kind of helps you. There's more compassion from other women for the experience that a woman lives. So it is really important to me to have women in my life, whether that's women that I'm working with, or maybe some of you don't work with women and you have like a whole team of men or something. But I am really fortunate to work with other women because I think it's helpful for us to remind each other. And it's like, am I ever going to achieve that balance? I don't know. But it helps me when the other women in my life remind me, hey, it's easier, right? Like it's easier to see someone else and to be able to be like, hey, are you okay? Maybe you need a day off. And so it's good to have those people in your life who will help you stay in balance. I think that's the thing. It's like, we kind of have to help each other because it is, the culture is designed around a man's clock, not a woman's, but we as other women can help remind each other. And I think that's probably how I how I survive it. I don't know if I've achieved balance, but yeah.
Well, balance is always, it's always going to be shifting and
Constant.
changing.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and even in different seasons, what worked for you last year might
Yes.
not work for you this year, and I think that is so part of the human experience, but specifically the female experience. Our bodies and our hormones and our situations change so much, whether it's kids, school, different life seasons. It's always going to change. So the best thing you can do is just keep being curious and finding what works.
Mhm.
And like you said, finding community. I think you're so correct in that having good, solid women who are confident enough to feel comfortable lifting you up is so important.
Yeah.
And just having those women that can really, look at your life and speak truth into it, because you're so right that it's easier for us to see someone else's imbalance than our own. And I think it's so important to have friends in our lives and people around us who will be honest with us, who we can be honest with, to just encourage each other.
Yeah.
So, as a woman in business, clearly as one who's very successful and just making amazing waves in the health, wellness, beauty industry, do you have any advice for young women who are listening to this who want to start something but don't know where to start or how to find their passions?
Oh, okay. Well, I think as far as like women who want to get into business or an entrepreneurial space, I would say that start with some internal work. Prepare yourself, because even if you were to step out there tomorrow and start your thing, if you haven't done the internal work of like building confidence, learning to love yourself, finding gratitude in small things and things like that, you'll get out there and the haters will find you right away. And it's hard, I think that you have to acknowledge that you have to be on a continuous path of growth, because your business will grow and you'll only be able to keep up with the growth in your business to the level that you've grown personally. The person that I was 4 years ago before jumping in with Frownies is not the same person that I am today. And if I hadn't grown with my company's growth, I wouldn't be able to keep doing this. Like, I would have crumbled. And I think that that's one thing that's just really important, is you just always have to keep that personal growth and that internal work at the forefront. So I would say, even before you're successful, we can all do that. Like, you don't have to be successful to be extremely successful inside and personally and in your personal relationships. So that internal work, that personal growth work has to come first. You start now, even if you don't have any plans of some big dream endeavor. It'll help you in everything, in all your relationships and in everything you ever do. The other thing is that interpersonal growth, the relationships that you value in your life, never take them for granted and never get comfortable. Obviously, just doing the personal growth work is going to take you a long way in your interpersonal relationships too. But I think prioritizing the growth of the relationships that matter to you is also really important, because, again, there are a lot of challenges. If you have success or if you have struggles in business endeavors and in following your dreams, though, that can weigh heavily on your relationships. So you want to be sure that you're strong internally and you're strong in the relationships that matter to you, because when business is tough, or when business is a success, like, either way, it's still a lot. You don't want that to take a toll on your relationships and the things that really matter to you. Because ultimately, like, your relationships with your spouse, your family, your friends, your children, like, those things are really more important. And even the business dreams and goals that we do it to enrich our lives and the relationships that we have. And so, in chasing after some dream, you don't want to lose the relationship that the dream was really supposed to be supporting. So I think that internal work, and then just doing work to build strong relationships around you, is step one. And then out of that, it's a lot easier to have your business be successful, because you're coming from a place with like a full cup, right? Instead of just coming empty and just hustling and burning out.
Yeah, that is so beautiful and so insightful. And I think you're so correct for whether or not somebody wants to start a business, whether your goal is to be a stay-at-home mom, which is an amazing, amazing thing to do, or you want to start a business or anything in between, that internal work is going to make you the best version of yourself. And it's also, you're totally correct, and it's going to help you just be creative, and it's also going to help you just kind of develop your passions. I know this is kind of a high level concept, but when we're in that kind of delta brainwave where we're looking at our phones all the time, high cortisol, stress, taking in all this information, our creativity goes down. And one of the best ways for you to figure out your passions in life, I think, is to be able to relax, do that deep work, get comfortable in your own skin, and kind of take space for yourself outside of all the noise to kind of get to know yourself,
Yeah.
to figure out what your purpose in life is. And once you do,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And well, Helen, I have just absolutely loved this conversation with you. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I think that so many people are going to benefit so much from learning about not only frownies, but business and wellness and breaking down some of the misconceptions in the beauty world that do kind of lead girls and women down a path of self-hatred. And so I'm so excited for the impact that this conversation will bring to so many of the girls. I would love for you to be able to plug, where can people find you, your business, all the things. Can you let my audience know where they can find you?
Absolutely. If you're interested in connecting with me about frownies, you can find us on Instagram at frownies and on TikTok at frownies family. And even if you just search frownies, you'll find us there. If you want to connect with me personally, you can find my personal Instagram account. It's just Helen K. Morrison. Also, I guess I do have a personal TikTok as well. And it's also Helen K. Morrison. So I'd love to chat. If you watch this and you want to send me a message, I reply to every single DM. So I would love to hear from you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Helen. I had a fantastic time chatting with you. And I hope all of you listening learned something today and that you have a wonderful day. And we will chat soon.
Thanks so much.